Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Syracuse, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside 2016 Player of the Year, Tom Ross. How's it going? here in the sideboard. It's been a while, but I think one of the last times you've done a deck tech, we were talking about 8-Rack.
8-Rack, yeah.
A deck that you played in Modern to a top 8 finish. Now you're playing a little different. You're playing a black-white Pox style deck, and you came to this by a fan vote, something you tend to do when it comes to Modern events when you're not quite locked in on what you want to play.
Yeah, I did a Twitter poll and I was kind of glad this deck won because it plays a lot like 8-Rack. It's a small Pox deck too, and I always liked this style of deck, just kind of like a resource denial. It's not as racky, it doesn't race as much anymore, it's more like a black-white control deck. This is like the first deck I played in Time Spiral Block a long time ago. I had access to Flagstones and small Pox and Urborg, and I just wanted to make it happen. And now looks like a shell for it is doing well online. And everybody I talk to says the deck's sweet and it's underrated.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to be playing it in real life, so.
Seems like a perfect deck for you to pick up. You know, you've got a lot of reps with playing the discard spells. As you said, this is pretty much a different angle of attack than the rack deck because this is a more of a control deck and to grind them out with planeswalkers. So we'll go over all the threats here. You've got Thoughtseize, Inquisition, this stuff we come to expect. You know, Fatal Push didn't exist when you played the rack to a top 8, I don't believe, or either it was just when it came out.
No, it wouldn't release it. I had to play a bunch of Dismembers, which weren't great against Burn and Affinity and stuff.
So now you get to play that in this shell, which is perfect for 1 mana, and then your Bloodghast, Small Pox on 2, that's kind of your early game right there, along with Collective Brutality, which enables a lot of other things that happen in this deck.
Yeah, you got 11 ways to discard cards from your own hand. You got the Liliana, Small Pox, and Collective Brutality, and to take advantage of that, you have to have Bloodghast and Lingering Souls, and I think that's kind of it. I got a return, maybe I can get some value out of.
Right, and with Grixis Death Shadow being the deck to beat, as everyone's saying right now in Modern, Lingering Soul is one of the best cards against them. This is probably one of the best Lingering Souls decks you can be playing.
Yeah, also Small Pox is outrageous against them. They have to spend a lot of resources, and to one of their creatures, you know, they have to delve 6 cards for Gurmag Angler, and they don't have any lands in their deck in the first place.
Right,
so it can be pretty devastating. They keep a lot of one-landers and stuff. 5
or 6 mana producing lands in that deck. We saw, you know, at the team open with Todd Stevens a couple weeks ago that you guys won. He was just beating that deck by removing all their lands. This deck, you know, you probably aren't planning to do that, but you do have Small Pox, which can knock out 1 or 2 of their lands, and then they're going to be in trouble after that.
Yeah, this is one of the most interactive decks possible. Really, it attacks from like all the angles, hits the creatures, the cards in hand, their lands. Some aspects of hitting the graveyard, you can go wide, you can like control the game with the planeswalkers.
Yeah, that's something we don't see a lot in Modern right now, but you have 8 planeswalkers in this deck for Liliana. But then we have a 2-2 split because that's kind of where people look to mix up what they want to do. We see either a bunch of Gideons or an Elspeth maybe. You have 2 Sorin and 2 Gideon. You get to use your own token this weekend, so that's probably a good pick there.
Yeah, it's a common knowledge to play 3 Gideon and 1 Sorin, and from the list I've seen. But I want to play with my token, so I'm playing 2 Sorin. I don't care what they think.
Got to make sure we get some use out of that. It's been a while. You know, the Infect counter gets a lot of use. Sorin got its play when it was in Standard, but now it's time to shine again.
Yeah, also the Lifelink's pretty good. I thought I might run into some aggressive decks, like Bird might be coming back in Affinity. Especially like Affinity, because it's perceived to have a good matchup against Death Shadow. So Death Shadow's on the downswing, even though this does have a good matchup against it. I think I have the ability to kind of fight any deck with the discard and a little bit of land destruction and creature removal, so I'm not going to be dead in the water or anything. That's kind of where I want to be in like a greatly like diverse Modern metagame, which is pretty healthy. Yeah,
got a fighter's chance in basically any matchup. Then your one-ofs here floating around. We got a Never to Return coming straight out of Hour of Devastation. That's Amonkhet, apologies.
Yeah, it's just kind of hard removal. Yeah, can get some value out of return. It's a way to interact with their graveyard game 1. It's not bad.
Cast out another, new spell that has cycling, which gives you a little flexibility in this deck. And we got to talk about the one of Mana Tithe here. We're looking to get people this weekend.
Yeah, you're already seeing their hand a lot, so you can kind of predict what turn they're going to play their cards and tap out for. Also, you have Small Pox, so they don't have as many lands to work with. All their mana creatures kind of get killed by Maverick's removal, so I kind of stick somebody with a Mana Tithe. I also have ways to discard out my hand if it ever becomes dead. And once I get somebody with it in one game, they're going to be scared of it forever.
Oh yeah. Same with just the stifle or the daze or anything. Once you hit them once, they have to play around it the rest of the match.
Yep.
And then you just get a ton of equity there. The other thing to talk about this deck is the mana base. Very good for a 2-color deck. Obviously we're in Modern, but you have a bunch of things that are outside of the shock, fetch, mana base. You have a bunch of shambling events running around.
Yep.
And then like the pieces here, we have Flagstones, Urboard, and Fetid Heath all just do a great job of fixing your mana and playing well with Smallpox.
Yeah, the mana stress then, you're playing Lily on the Veil and Gideon. So you need to get double black, double white as early as like turn 4. So yeah, the Flagstones are just great with either Fetid Heath or Board to go with your Smallpox, so you don't lose a land in that exchange. You go fetch one up. And if you have to sacrifice a Blood Gas, you sacrifice your Flagstones too, get land back in play, get your Blood Gas back. Just all working together.
Just laughing all the way to the bank with your Smallpox, discarding a card that you want to discard anyway.
Yep. Looks like fun. Hopefully I have fun this weekend.
All right, so we'll mention the sideboard here real quick. A pretty solid sideboard. We have 2 4-ofs in Leyline of the Void and Fulminator. Pretty clear what you're going after here. The graveyard decks and the mana decks. Then we'll talk about these cards. Stony Silence, we know where this is coming in against Affinity, things like that.
Yep.
Let's talk about these other pieces. You got 1 Liliana, 2 Kalitas, and 2 Damnation rounding out the sideboard.
Yeah, I have a Liliana Last Hope in my sideboard. It was kind of a last minute idea. I wanted like another card to go with my Fulminator Mages. A lot of matchups I have to take out like all my removal plus some other cards. So the Fail Pushes, maybe the Collective Brutalities have to come out, maybe the Never Return. So I just need like a pile of cards against certain matchups. Say like a Scape Shift deck, I need like a pile of cards, so I have 4 Fulminator Mages. And I don't really want to play like more discard in my sideboard because they could show up with like Leyline Sanctity or something. Then the Liliana Last Hope works with the Fulminator Mage a little bit.
Yeah, some synergies there. Anything you couldn't fit in the deck that you were trying to put into it?
I want to play a Start Finish in there. You can just discard the finish. It's like a 3-mana Bone Splitters, but I have Blood Gas and a bunch of tokens. And the Starts is not bad either, so like this is kind of a token deck with some emblem action going on with Gideon and Soren, so there's more tokens is okay. I couldn't fit it. I think it's just like one of the weaker cards, but I definitely wanted to play it.
All right, well, we're recording this in round 3. You, of course, are the only person with 3 buys, so you get to wait a little bit more before you get into action. What are your hopes this weekend with this deck?
Kind of the same hopes that Todd Stevens had last weekend to like dodge the early game stuff. So Todd played a good day 2 deck, but not really a good day 1 deck. And I played like a great day 1 deck and a poor day 2 deck in our team tournament, and kind of balance each other out. So hopefully with his 3 buys, I'll dodge like some craziness that I'm not thinking about and play a lot of like stock decks.
All right, get to the established metagame, dominate them with Smallpox the way Tom Ross does.
Yeah, a bunch of shadow and stuff.
All right, Tom, well, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard. We'll have you on camera in round 4 so people get to take a look at this deck. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Syracuse.